Hello guys, and welcome to the second episode of my dev diary about the community project. Like in the first episode, I'm going to try to give you an overview about the most important changes that have been made to the game Crydia, Fragments of Chaos that we are working on currently. Of course, I cannot mention every little update in this video, but I will try to tackle the most important aspects and the overall progress that has been made. So I ended the last episode telling you that currently we were reworking the different areas that were already made, but with assets of slightly lower quality. So our level designers made an awesome job reworking those with new measures, materials, and also restructured the layout a bit. First off, I want to mention the level designer Kushi, who was and still is working on a cave that is going to be located near the Fisher village, and that will be full of dangerous monsters. It's sort of like the first dungeon that the player has to finish, and it ends with a boss fight in there. So it's meant to be a cave near the sea with a very dark and gloomy atmosphere, and it's inhabited by poisonous crabs. So we added those toxic shrooms that are emitting light in various colors and that also look very dangerous and fit the atmosphere of the cave. Then the project member Psyched was reworking the forest he made. So at the very beginning of the game you will be able to explore that forest that has a little lake in its center. And the whole atmosphere is very calm and there won't be any enemies in this forest. Instead you will probably have a quest to fetch some herbs there and return to the village. Then the level designer Paki worked on the main part of the Fisher village that our protagonist will be living in. So we added a bunch of houses, also a forge, a marketplace, a river and bridges and so on. Also, I should like to mention that our main 3D artist Araton did an awesome job on creating models that Paki needed to design the level. So he made those marketplaces, some barrels, just some props, as well as the house for the protagonist. Apart from that, Kushi also started working on Lignum, which will be the first village that you will be able to explore. If you remember from the first video, it's built entirely on trees, and we knew that we wanted to have a great overview from there on all of the landscape around the village. So Kushi already started creating some mountains in the background, a lake, waterfall and so on, just so you will have a beautiful view when playing the game for the first time. And currently we are filling Lignum with all of the meshes, the houses, the trees and all of the bridges connecting them, so hopefully that will be finished soon. Further, we got some nice progress on visual effects that were all made by our main VFX artist, Invoker, who's producing particle systems of very high quality from the moment this project started until now. So he started with some environmental things like falling leaves that we'll be able to use in Lignum, as well as some fire, because you need fire in basically every game. Then crystals will play a main role in our game, and they are extremely important for the narrative. So Invoker made a particle system of souls emerging from the crystal that just looks astonishing. In addition to that, we knew that there will be some sort of magic in the game, and so we need some ice and fire projectiles that will be able to use as spells. And those also got some impact effects, so when the fireball hits something, that object is burned, or if the ice shot hits a wall, it will splinter. As I mentioned before, we plan to have toxic crabs in the first real dungeon, so it was obvious that there will be status effects, like poisoned, and we wanted to have a particle system that we could attach to the player when he's poisoned to communicate that. And then Kushi said that it would be very nice to have some particles in the cave as well, so some little fireflies, and maybe a waterfall that we can use later on. After the last Dev Diary video, we were joined by another very talented 3D artist called Slang, who was specializing on creating very beautiful looking weapons. So first off, we decided to remake the first sword that the protagonist will receive. So Slang created that sword from scratch and also made a sheath for that particular sword, so you can put it away if you want. Then there will also be a sword for the protagonist's father, Galen, who has a little bit of a background in sword fighting, so he's got a very valuable sword that's related to his past, with some rubies and horse ornaments communicating that. In addition to that, Galen is currently working as a blacksmith. He obviously also needs a hammer. And we already knew that there will be a sorcerer called Rowan, so of course he also needs a weapon. And he got that one with nice little runes encarved in it, looking very old and powerful. Apart from those weapons, we needed to get started on creating the models for our characters, because we already got some concept arts but no real models. And fortunately our 3D artist Maheshmek took the concept art for Galain, the protagonist's father, and turned it into a wonderful looking mesh. Currently without the hair, but that will be added later. And also created some different lots so that the impact on performance won't be that heavy. Then we thought that we also needed to get started on enemies. And one of our former concept artists called Mag drew some very interesting creatures that we could use as enemies. And also gave us some options so we could discuss which of those enemies we like best. We decided that the goat would be very appropriate for the first area, so he made a detailed concept sketch of that we could then pass on to our 3D artist Slang, who turned the concept art into a real mesh. Slang also thought about how we could create those toxic crabs. Unfortunately, we didn't have a concept art for them, but still he was able to create a very nice looking mesh that looks very dangerous and toxic. While other people were working on some 3D assets and level design, of course we also had to refine the story. Having our main story settled, we needed to discuss some small details and how everything would fit together. And our new main story lead, called Black Fox, started to think about possible backstories of all the characters and villages and in general of the whole world, so how it got created and why the crystals that play an important role are in this world in the first place. Speaking of crystals that are basically the main theme of the game, we wanted to also convey that in the design for our main menu. So the user Fury Sword made a very nice looking concept art for the main menu, highlighting that aspect. And we discussed whether there was a nice way to make that screen a little bit more interesting, animating the crystal, making it 3D and so on. Maybe also showing off different characters and parts of the crystal when it's turning around. While all of this was happening, the programmers were also quite busy, especially our programmer and project manager Bobby, who created the quest system all by himself. It's already completely functional and working like a charm, but I will give you a detailed rundown of the quest system when I made some proper looking UI for that to show what it's really capable of. I hope that this will be finished until the next episode so I can show it off then. Apart from that, our programmer Mort made some changes to how the AI works. Since we now knew that we were going to have bosses, he worked on some extra code for bosses that will have special attacks and so on. Currently those boss AIs are just using placeholder meshes and effects, so I will also give you a proper showcase of them once we got some real meshes and particle systems imported. Another AI programmer called Nicole Fernandez worked on creating crowd AI, so NPCs that just run around in the world and play some various animations once they hit certain locations, just to make the whole world feel a lot more realistic and like the NPCs there have things that they do every day. So that's also part of the progress to make the whole world seem vivid and realistic. During the last couple of weeks I've been busy working on the inventory system that I showed you a concept art of in the last episode. So I implemented this and I'm going to give you a detailed showcase of it now because obviously that's what I know the most about since I made it myself. So once we play, we can hit I, obviously, to open up our inventory. We have our little stat box here with some tooltips, what those stats are. And we've got a character preview that we can turn around if we want to. Here we can see all of our items, stackable ones and non-stackable ones, all with their tooltips, their value, weight, a description, and what they do. So when you hover over them, you can see what actions are possible. So I could use spacebar to drink that health potion, F to remove it, and H to assign it to hotkey, though that's not working yet. I can also show you when I hit space, the potion is consumed. Or I can hit F to remove items, and if there are multiple ones in one stack, I see a little bar, can define how many I want to remove. Then I implemented filtering by categories, so I can hit the Q and E keys to use a category here. So consumables, we only see health and mana potions, equipment, materials that are going to be used for crafting, quest items, scriptures, and finally enhancements. Also, of course, you can rearrange things on your slot if you want to. We decided on having an unlimited amount of slots, but you will have a weight cap, currently set to 500, which just means that if you have too many items, you will be slowed down and move a lot slower. Then I worked on implementing an equipment system. So as you can see, we have a steel slot equipped by default. You can right click it to unequip it if you want. See all of the slots with little tooltips, and you can equip various items to all of the slots. So ring will go there. Then we've got one slot for amulets, shoes, chest, sword, and so on. Also use drag and drop if you want to. And maybe you have noticed that when I hover over the steel necklace, you will see that it will give me plus 0.25 attack speed, and if I equip it, you will see that my attack speed was really increased. So the whole stat system is working hand in hand with the inventory and equipment system. And you might have already noticed that all of our equipment items have an amount of sockets. So this breastplate has 3 sockets. So if I equip it, you will see 3 sockets here. And I can use enhancement items like this runestone here, which says equip to armor and equip to weapon. So I can drag and drop that onto my chest and use this to socket this item, give it bonus effects. Apart from that, I added a looting system. So you see pickup actors here. If I hit E, you will see a list of all of the items that are inside of this pickup actor. So some gold, some runestones. I can hit E to take one, or space to take everything. And now you see that I've got those items in here. And we also made it so that this loot is generated randomly when you kill an enemy. So if I kill this enemy, he drops the pickup actor, and you see I got 33 health potions and 47 gems. And now when I hit I, you will see that I got all of those items in here. Currently I'm also working on a merchant system, and our programmer Lewis is helping me with the whole inventory system by adding storages, but those are not completely finished right now, so I'll also show them off in the next episode. The last thing that I wanted to show off here are new sound effects that were added by one of our sound designers. First off, he added some footsteps, which you can hear, and also created sound effects for the inventory system. So when I hover over the items, you will hear a little sound effect. And also when I use them, so for the health potion, a little drinking effect, same for the mana potion. And he made special effects for all of the equipment items. All sound different when they are equipped. So an awesome job on that sound effects. That really add a lot to the inventory system, giving feedback to the player when he did something. That's really important. And yeah, that was the last thing that I wanted to show you in this little dev diary. The next steps will be to implement the storage and merchant system, then add the UI for the quest system, and then start working on a conversation/dialogue system. After that, we will probably refine the combat so it's a lot more fluid, and that the animations look more dynamic, are supported by sound effects and so on. So those might be things that you will see in the next episode. I hope you like this one, and see you in the next video.